5 NBA players who bloom late in their careers. My name is Joshua Envyerz. The criteria for this video is that the player had to have been 30 years or older when they've had one of their best seasons in the league. So let's get started first with the player that's still in the league today, Kyle Lowry of the Toronto Raptors and soon to be a free agent. He's 30 years old, and he just had his best season in the NBA, which consisted of 22.4 points per game, 7 assists, and 4.8 rebounds. Say what you will about Kyle Lowry, he's unclutch, he disappears in the playoffs, but Kyle Lowry and the Toronto Raptors are a great regular season team. They get the job done, and it shows in their record year after year the past few years. Not to mention, ever since he got to Toronto, he's become a 3-time All-Star. If he were to go to a different team this offseason, I think that wouldn't be beneficial to his career, but I could be wrong. I just don't want to see him in a Spurs uniform. There's a lot of rumors going on around that, and that's one thing I don't want to happen this offseason. And if you're a Raptors fan, let me know in the comment section below. Do you guys want to see Kyle Lowry leave, or do you want to, try to overpay him and play more ISO ball with him and DeRozan? Moving on to another point guard who bloomed late in his career, Steve Nash. I think we all kind of knew he'd be on this list. He was a solid player with the Dallas Mavericks, but with his second stint with the Phoenix Suns, he was able to win back-to-back MVP trophies, both of which he won past the age of 30. And if you want to dig into some NBA politics, he may have stole one from Kobe back in the day. Nevertheless, his best season statistically was when he was 32 years old. 18.6 points per game, 11.6 assists, and 3.5 rebounds in one of his better seasons. And when you compare that with the players that play today and Russell Westbrook and James Harden, that's kind of crazy that they're averaging that stat line but putting up a whole lot more points and a whole lot more rebounds as well. That's crazy to see the NBA evolve this way, and I think it's what's best for basketball, even though if you may love it or hate it with stat junkies. Still, Steve Nash is probably the best example for being a late bloomer in the NBA. Next, we have Dennis Rodman. He never put up that many points throughout his career, but this man was all hustle, especially grabbing rebounds. He's most famously known for his three-peat with the Chicago Bulls, Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, but his best season actually came when he was 30 years old with the Detroit Pistons. He averaged 9.8 points per game, 18.7 rebounds per game. That's absolutely crazy. You don't see that in today's NBA. Nowadays, the bigs are shooting threes, so that's probably why you don't see that. Then 4 years later, when he was actually with the Bulls, he was able to average 15 rebounds throughout his 3 years with the Bulls and the 3 championships he won with them. I would have put the Detroit Pistons logo as Dennis Rodman, but I completely forgot, and I put the Bulls, so that's why you see a Bulls graphic of Dennis Rodman. I was too lazy to change it to blue. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get these videos as quickly as possible, but it's hard work. So yeah, Dennis Rodman, impressive late bloomer in the NBA, considering he was averaging 15 rebounds in those 3 years with the Bulls at 34, 35, and 36 years old. That's crazy, man. Let's talk about another big. That big being Marc Gasol of the Memphis Grizzlies, who is 32 years old and just had his best season like Kyle Lowry in the NBA. He averaged 19.5 points per game, 6.2 rebounds, 4.6 assists, and to top that, he even stepped out behind the three-point line this season and started shooting threes. That's just how the NBA works now. Bigs are shooting threes, and they're getting good at it apparently. I'm not really a huge fan of Marc Gasol, especially I believe it was 3 or 4 years ago. He was extremely overrated. He was top 10 in a lot of ESPN Bleacher Report articles back then. And looking back at that, maybe they were right. Maybe I was wrong in thinking that he's overrated, because this season, one of the most underrated bigs in the league on one of the most underrated teams in the league. So I don't know if he's always been this good. Maybe now I'm just starting to realize it. So with his best season behind him, I'm kind of interested to see what happens next with Marc Gasol. Does he start taking more three-pointers next season? I'm sure he will. Either way, he was criminally underrated as a big and as a player in the league. So Marc Gasol, if you're watching this, I know you are. Forgive me for ever thinking you were overrated. I apologize. I've learned from my mistakes. Lastly, Chauncey Billups of the Detroit Pistons. The only player on this list that isn't actually 30. He was 29. Close enough, right? Close enough. And that season was actually his first season becoming an all-star, even after winning the NBA championship with the Pistons. And speaking of the Pistons, I was actually really tempted to put his teammate Ben Wallace on this list, because I remember this man being a beast, you know, back in the day when they won the championships. But he wasn't 30 years old, and he wasn't 29 years old. He was a little bit younger than that, like 28 or 27. So that's why I decided not to put him on this list. But Billups actually had a decent career after age of 30. He made 5 consecutive All-Star appearances, and even when he was traded from the Detroit Pistons to the Denver Nuggets, he had a solid seasons. Then after that, when he was traded from the Nuggets to the Knicks, he had a solid season with the Knicks too. It wasn't until ultimately you started to see him decline once he signed with the Clippers. He got injured, tore his Achilles, and the Clippers just forever curse players and forever bring up old players. That's a joke, by the way, if you didn't get it. Thank you guys for watching the video. These are 5 players who were late bloomers in the NBA that I could think of. Let me know in the comment section below what 5 players that you feel like were late bloomers in the NBA, or what players I may have missed on this video. If you liked it, be sure to hit the like button. It really helps my channel out, along with checking out some of these other videos with a similar art style. I'll talk to you guys later.